Oh my goodness, that song is so long. Hey, happy Sunday. Happy first Sunday in the month of June. Happy full moon energy that is still around us. If anyone got a chance to see, to sit under the full moon yesterday, last night, beautiful as always. The weather has just been absolutely beautiful. If I hear one person complain about the heat, I'm going to put tape over your mouth. It has been glorious and I am grateful for it. Hello, my name is Coach Yolanda, owner of Evolving Spirit Wellness, international spiritual life coach, certified birth doula and lactation coach. Let's see, what else do I do? Oh, I'm a Reiki master. I am here to provide meditation. I'm grateful for those of you who join us every Sunday at 1 p.m. Today, you are getting me unfiltered. I don't look, I didn't even draw in my eyebrows for y'all. I have a makeup appointment, a glam appointment. And so my face needs to be clear. And so this is all of me unfiltered, no foundation, no nothing. And I like it. We like a diverse lifestyle where we can be one way, the other way, and still be good. And so I am grateful for those of you who show up, either watching live or on the replay. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and that is where you can find the replays. Hopefully, I can get myself together and also have this information posted on Spotify too, because I do have a Spotify channel. As it said, or is shown on the intro, I'm in a lot of places. I don't always tell everyone, but I would really like everyone to know where I can be found so you can find me. It is my honor to focus on inner child healing for all of 2023. Last year, we focused on love. We read all about love by Bell Hooks. This year, we are focusing on inner child healing. At all times, we are focused on our healing. And so our conversations up to this point have been about the developmental stages of when we were children, and now we're in this developmental stage of ages 12 to 20, which seems like a huge span, but it really isn't. It's really no different than the others, but a lot goes on in this developmental stage. And so for the entire month of June, we are going to be focusing on that developmental stage from 12 to 20. And whether you see it that way or not, it's still a child or adolescent developmental stage. 20-year-olds are not as mature as we would like for them to be. I know I wasn't, and I know we were all doing adult things, but that doesn't mean that our brains were fully formed and that we were making choices and decisions aligned with more mature, emotionally mature, and mentally mature decisions. So I have some things that I would like to present to you. It may feel like it's too much, because the way you see yourself or the way that you saw your development may be different than your understanding right now. I know I find it difficult to think of myself as a child at age 19 because I know I was dealing with some very adult experiences. I know I find it very difficult to say that when I was 16 years old, I was innocent, because I'm thinking, yeah, but what about that time I, didn't go to school? And what about that time I made this choice, that choice, this choice? It could be challenging to meet your inner children where they were, particularly since you know so much now. But I'm going to offer and ask that you hold space for your inner children and the choices and the decisions that you feel that you had to make when you were in this age range. And as we continue to go further, some of you might be in that age range right now. We might have some 19, 20-year olds with us now. And you're thinking, well, if I'm in that developmental stage, how can I hold space? You have to hold space for yourself. And perhaps you will learn something now that will serve you well. Because I know there's a whole host of things that I wish my 19-year-old self knew. I wish my 19-year-old self had particular types of guidance. Doesn't mean that my life would be easier. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't have suffered particular things in my life. There are just things that I wish that I had known, but I'm grateful for being here in this right now moment. And so one of the things that I intend to do in this space, no matter what, is to define, identify, and create, meaning Let's define something. Let's, give a definition to what we're talking about. Let's identify how that shows up in our life now so that we can create habits and tools and skills and other things that will push us forward and help and support our growth. That is the intention. I call it mama meditations because, similar to what your mother might do, you might think you're getting one thing and you're getting something else. And so this is not a traditional meditation where we are sitting and I'm guiding us through a meditation. This is a discussion. And it works well when you are discussing with me. So the comment section is open. Be mindful that whatever you put in the comments will be seen by other individuals. I may put it up on the screen so that it is recorded in prosperity for all to see. But we are not going to criticize or judge. Just be mindful. If there's something that you want to share, we are open. I trust that I have created a safe space. If at any moment it does not feel safe for you, I give you free invitation to leave at any moment. During this developmental stage, we're going to talk about more adult themes. And so if it is something that you are not prepared to deal with, to face, to talk about, then I invite you to not. No one should tell you when you have to heal from something or when it's time for you to begin your healing process. That is something that you have to control. You may not have had control of the issues that caused you the trauma, but you are in control of how you respond and heal from that trauma. And I would never, ever, ever tell someone you need to heal that, fix that right now. We all have our own process and we go through life at our own pace. And no one should try to hurry anyone else up through their spiritual healing process. So, with all of that being said, if there are some things that are difficult, but you still want to discuss them, we can do it privately. We don't have to do it in this open forum. I am open and available to discuss and talk about whatever might be on your thought. And it doesn't have to just be in this developmental stage, it can be in any. Right now, you can see that the corresponding color for this developmental stage is blue because the corresponding energy center is the throat chakra or throat energy center. And so 12 to 20, we are dealing with issues of expression. We are dealing with issues of how we speak to ourselves. We are very concerned with what other people are saying and how we interpret it, right? 12 to 20 is that time when there is a decreased guidance from your primary caregivers, your parents, your teachers. Those people don't have as much influence in your life as they used to when you were younger. And the bulk of your experiences and interactions are with your peer group, your friends. Now, they don't necessarily just have to be people who are the same age, but people who you identify with that may be outside of your family of origin. And for most of us, 12, 13, 14, 15, it's our friend group. Even if you don't have a large friend group, whatever that generation, that culture of your age group is going through, those are the things that you may identify with. Now, I don't want to dismiss those of us who feel like we were old souls, that even when we were teenagers, we felt more mature than the people around us, because we know that that is also inexperience. But for the most part, influence over our lives comes from our peer group or those that we spend the most amount of time with. We also are trying to figure out who we are. You can ask a 13-year-old who they are, and you could get five different answers in one day, because that is the time, again, where you have separated yourself in such a way from what your parents desire and what your parents think should be the influence in your life. And you are starting to develop your own personality, your own character, your own likes, your own dislikes, your own hobbies, and things that you are intrigued by. Even if you live a sheltered life, you know that there are some things within you that you desire and you are attracted to. And that's why we are starting with inner guidance. If you remember from last week, when we talked about, from her book is around here somewhere, Madame Somé talked about how up until the age of 7, we have this knowing. that we come here with, and then we start to lose it, we start to forget. That is another reason why this age and stage is so volatile, because when we forget who we are, we start to identify with other people. Well, maybe I'll be this girl, or maybe I'll be that guy, or maybe I'll be into this, or maybe I'll be into that. um, Yesterday I was listening to some of my newly acquired albums, vinyl records, and I was listening to Madonna's True Blue, which was a great album. You know, that's when Madonna was on her trajectory of being an icon. And so I'm listening to this music and I'm like, Madonna really had us in a chokehold. She had us wearing rubber bracelets and our bras with lace tops over. For those of you who remember that era, we were wearing the lace gloves, and her look had a huge impact in how young girls wanted to dress. And that's why this age and stage can be volatile, because we didn't know if it was the right thing to do or wrong thing to do. We just know she looked cool doing it, so we tried to do it. And for those of you who may be in my age range, that was also the time when hip hop was exploding. And so maybe you wanted to be like a rapper. Salt and Pepper had us all shaving our heads on one side, dyeing our hair, stacking our hair, wearing big earrings. And depending upon the culture of that time, from the age of 12 to 20, you might adopt so many different personalities and personas, because you're trying to figure out who you are, what feels good on you. Maybe you were part of the club, or maybe you were part of the preppy club. Like, you try out all of these different personalities to see what feels good. So external influence is huge. External influence is huge in this time period. This is also the time period, for some reason, we've decided, from the age of 14 to the age of 18, that we can figure out what we want to do with the rest of our adult life. When you think about that, the age of 12 to, let's say, 18, 19, that's a very short period of time to try to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. But by the time you are 18, everybody's looking at you like, so what's the plan? You going to college, you're going to trade school, you're getting a job. Like, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? It really, it really is a lot for young people whose brains are not even fully developed, and where you're still trying to figure out who you are. The world is looking at you to tell you, you better figure it out, and you better choose right, because the world will also tell you you don't get other tries. Like, you can't try different things. You've got to figure it out and have it solidified by the time you are 18, because if you don't, then you're a failure and you're just going to float along, and life is not going to be kind to you. That's the messaging that we get. So all of this pressure, where you are developing physically, developing mentally, all over the place hormonally, so your emotions are all over the place. All of these things are going on. And then you got to decide what to do with the rest of your life. And so if we've lost our knowledge about who we are, and now we're in this time period where we got to figure it out, where do we go for guidance? No one shows us and tells us how to connect with our inner guidance. So if you feel right now, whatever stage of age you are in right now, if you feel stuck, if you feel stuck in distrust, if you feel like you are having more negative thoughts than you would like, confused about your life purpose, confused about what you're supposed to do, what now, if that is your question, then your inner GPS is off. Your inner guidance system is off. And you might be emulating something similar to what you experienced when you were 12, 13, 14, 15. And you might even be engaging in the same behavior. How many of us, when we were 12 or 13, wanted to be 15, 16, 17? When you're younger, you always want to be older. When you're older, you always want to be younger. But when you're younger and you're in that developmental stage, you're always trying to do what someone older than you is doing, whether that's wearing makeup before you're supposed to, trying to smoke cigarettes, Yes, my love, even at 40, 45, and 50, we can start to emulate childlike behavior, teenage behavior, because we're feeling stuck and uncertain, because no one showed us then. And so here we are as adults still trying to figure it out. But I am here to tell you, you have a divine opportunity because you do have the wisdom now that you did not have when you were younger. So, yes, you could be 40, you could be 45, you could be 50, and still, in some ways, be, thinking as you did when you were a teenager, because who showed you? Who gave you guidance? And now that we're in this time period where people actually call themselves cultural influencers, people will say, I'm an influencer. And so they tell you what to buy, they tell you where to shop, where to travel. We feel like we can't even make decisions by ourselves until we go on an app to tell us what we're supposed to do. How are we supposed to dress this season? We don't know. Let's go online so someone can tell us that. Instead of trusting our inner guidance. So we are even doing a disservice to ourselves by thinking that we need other people to tell us how to live, how to be, how to eat, how to exercise, like all of these things that really are known to us. We now have a mindset where I got to be led. I have to have someone give me guidance. Now, one of the things that I would never call myself is an influencer, which is why I say this is a discussion, this is communication, this is me, you, and everyone else watching. We have to be careful if we are out of balance with feeling that we don't know what we're doing, what our purpose is, and all of the information that we're taking in is based upon someone else's influence. That is very similar to what happens when you're a teenager. And even I can cringe at some of the things and choices that I made where I know I didn't want to do it. But if the group was doing it, then we're doing it. If it seemed like the good thing to do, then I wanted to do it. That's what teenagers do, because we have not been taught how to trust our inner self, that inner voice. Even when the inner voice is like, don't get in that car and go to that party. You know you're not supposed to do it. You feel compelled because there's this imbalance of what other people think about me is more important than what I know to be true for myself. And how many of us still have that going on as adults, where there's an imbalance? Other people's expectations, thoughts, judgments, and criticisms have become more important than your own inner guidance. So now you are telling yourself, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I'm confused about my life purpose. I can't stop having these negative thoughts. And I have to acknowledge something that has been coming up for me and so many other people that I've been talking to, where you feel like you're doing all of the right things and nothing seems to be moving. I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm meditating, I'm doing all of the things, and my life does not seem to be changing. So I must be doing something wrong. I had a conversation with someone yesterday about how do I meditate right? I said the first thing is to stop thinking about it in right or wrong terms. It's not about the doing, it's about the being and the becoming and the embodiment of the you desire to be. It's not about how many times did I pray today, how many times did I meditate, how many times did I do 40 days or do I only do 30? We get so caught up in the motions thinking that the motions are influencing the change, when the change has to start here and here. That inner guidance, you have to reconnect to it, because you have it. You wouldn't be in existence if you didn't have it. It brought you into this wonderful world that we all get to live in. Why are you not trusting yourself? Why are you telling yourself that you can't be trusted, that I didn't make great choices? It could be because of some choices and decisions that you made between 12 and 20 that you're still holding yourself hostage to. If I had gone to college, my life would be different. If I hadn't had children so early, my life would be different. If I didn't marry that guy, if I didn't marry that girl, if I had listened to my mother, if I had not listened to my mother, all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas that may have happened between 12 and 20, you still holding yourself hostage to at 40, 45, and 50. And oh, my life would be so different. If you are still living in the past, your past is what's guiding you. So that inner GPS is really that guiding from the past position instead of the here and the now, where you have so much wisdom. We have so much wisdom. You didn't go through all of those experiences to just continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over. So we have to define what inner knowing is. And of course, I got my dictionary. So I'm going to read from the New Thought Dictionary, which talks about what is knowledge. What is knowledge? And I have a graphic. Oh, look, y'all, I'm being fancy. So let me add that. I have a graphic. All knowledge must come through one or a combination of science, which is a demonstrable knowledge of natural laws and causes. So we all know what science is. We love data sets. We love, proving theories. We love research. We love things that are tangible that we can prove. And science, I put that at the top because for some reason we think science and spirituality should be separate. For me, they are not. So you have science, you have philosophy, which is an expression of opinion and may or may not be correct. So when I was talking about the influencers, sometimes they're spot on, sometimes they're not. Sometimes I'm spot on, sometimes I'm not. But that has to be a part of your decision making process and how you look at knowledge. And the third, intuition, sometimes called revelation, which is a direct perception of truth without processes of conscious reasoning. Hey there, Giselle. Happy Sunday, and I'm so glad that you made it. So take a look at all three of these: science, philosophy, intuition. So we have the science. Those are the things that we have been tested and proven to be true over and over and over. You have philosophy, which was one of my favorite courses in college, philosophy, because it teaches you how to expand your thought process. You might be right, you may not be right. You might be in a balance of the two, but you have to be open and willing. And then you have intuition. And there's another definition for intuition that I think that we all need to hear, because it really is that spiritual connection that sometimes we leave out. And why would we leave it out? Why are we leaving out parts of who we are? Intuition is the natural knowing capacity, inner knowing, inner guidance, the immediate apprehension of spiritual truth without resort to intellectual means. We love to intellectualize everything. The wisdom of the heart. I love that. When one trusts spirit and looks to it for understanding, a certain confidence in the invisible good develops. This faith awakens the so called sixth sense, intuition, or divine knowing. Through the power of intuition, man has direct access to all knowledge in the wisdom of God. So why would we leave intuition out? So if we're thinking about all of the experiences that we have gone through, we got scientific information. We have philosophy, which is being open to different perspectives, different, theories. And then we have that spiritual knowing that is the direct connection to all knowledge and the wisdom of God. Why are we leaving any of those three out and telling ourselves that we're stuck, or we don't know what to do, or I'm confused about my life, I don't know what my purpose is? I would say that you are not connected to your internal GPS, and somewhere you're relying on one of these things instead of all three. So maybe you're an intellectual, and if you don't see it, and if it hasn't proven to be true or untrue, that's scientific. It doesn't even compute for you. Maybe that's the only way you judge particular things in your life. So scientifically, you are where you are because you didn't do this, you didn't do that, shoulda, coulda, woulda. All of these things add up for you and equal to you did something wrong. Maybe you only look at things philosophically, where the only voice that you're listening to really is your own. And, or you're open to other people's interpretation. And maybe there's that imbalance where other people's opinions mean more than your own because you haven't developed a healthy sense of how do I think for myself? Or maybe all you rely on is intuition. Imagine it sounds scary. Imagine if you got in your car and you said, I'm not going to pay attention to science. I'm not going to pay attention to other people's input. I'm just intuitively going to drive myself. Maybe my eyes are closed. How far you think you're going to get? Because there are other things that may be, you may be unaware of if you're just going to be guided by intuition. So, what about a healthy dose of all three of these things? The things that you can see that are tangible, that make you a believer in particular things, the scientific things, the philosophy where you are open to hearing other perspectives, other definitions, where you are open to other people saying what they see in you, and your intuition, your spiritual knowing. What if you had a healthy balance of all three of those things? So that became your source of knowledge. So you no longer say to yourself, I'm stuck, or I'm not trusting myself, or I keep having negative thoughts, or I'm confused about my life purpose. What if you employed all three of these things and stood firm on all three? That yes, scientifically, there are some things that can happen and won't happen. You could say, I want to be an astronaut. The data may say you're not going to be an astronaut, right? You could still say, I want to be an astronaut. And philosophically, someone could come along and say, you know what, you really could be in some shape and form. I believe it to be true. And this is what I think about it. And then somebody else could come along and be like, no, baby, that's not going to happen for you. And this is the reason why I believe it's not going to happen. But then you also have your intuition, your inner knowing that should be your guide in terms of how do I feel about it? Do I feel in my spirit that being an astronaut is the only thing that I'm going to be able to be? And so I'm going to put all of my time, attention, and focus on that. Am I going to trust myself enough that no matter what anybody says to me, I believe it to be true, and that's my focus? What if you had a healthy dose of all three of those things and use that instead of one or two? Because you could use one, you could use two. But if you are hitting on all three of those, and there's a whole lot of other things that contribute to our knowledge, I didn't even talk about our life experiences. There's no way for me that I went through what I went through to not learn anything. That contributes to my intuition. That contributes to the scientific data that I am collecting, the intellectual part of me. And it also contributes to the philosophy or my perspective on how I feel about life. So I'm never going to say I'm stuck when I have all of these things in my power to guide me. Somewhere along the way, you stopped trusting yourself and you relied on one of those other things, the scientific data or the philosophy of someone else. And maybe it was the philosophy of the people who surrounded you when you were younger and told you you couldn't do particular things. And so now at 40, at 45, and 50, you still believe it. Maybe those people were people that you really, really took to heart everything that they said, whether they were your caregivers, your friends, doesn't really matter who they are. If they had an influence over your life, you believed it. And you might still be believing it, that you're never going to accomplish the things that you secretly hold in your heart. And like this definition said, the language of your heart, the word of your heart, that's some deep stuff. When's the last time you had a conversation with your heart so that you know what your intuition is telling you and what your dreams and your visions are? And so, as we continue through the month of June, you better be clear. Look, listen to me. You better be clear. You need to be clear about what your inner guidance is saying to you. Are you trusting it? This morning during our morning call, that we have a morning call every 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Clubhouse app. And so this morning I was talking about, if you've been doing particular things that you believe are contributing or should be contributing to your growth, if you have been reading all of the things and praying and fasting and burning, like you really are, you feel doing all of the things that should afford you particular things, and nothing is moving in life. Life still feels the way that it has always felt. You feel like you're behind the eight ball instead of the one with the cue stick, for those of you who shoot pool. It can feel like, what is the point? Why should I? Why should I trust myself? Why should I continue to do these things if nothing is moving? And that is where your intuition has to be one of the cornerstones of the knowledge and the wisdom that you are using to make choices and decisions, because you're not going to be able to see what's going on. And it's not so much what you're doing, it's what are you connected to? What are you feeling? And do you believe that you deserve it? And do you believe that it is going to happen no matter what anyone else says? Remember what happened when you were a teenager, when you said you wanted to do something and everybody was like, that's crazy. Why would you want to do that? And you were like, you're right. You're right. I don't want to do that. How easily we were swayed when we were not as intellectually mature and emotionally mature as we are now. But many of us are still stuck in that kind of energy where we are so easily influenced by what someone else says or what they don't say that we automatically change our minds. We no longer trust ourselves fully, or we're distracting ourselves because we don't want to make a choice. We don't want to make decision. We're just going to let life do whatever life wants to do. And then you're frustrated, disappointed, and you got to find things to keep you motivated because you are not in control. But because we didn't get it when we needed it most, so many of us believe that teenagers, they can figure it out because we figured it out. We just need to stop telling that lie. Those of us who are older, we didn't figure it out. We were doing some of the same knucklehead things that these kids are doing now. We were just doing it in a different way. And the more that we keep trying to tell them that we were not that way, the more we make them feel as though they don't know what they're doing and that they don't have support. And now they become stuck because we don't want to tell the truth. We didn't do that when we were younger. We did that, and sometimes we did worse things than the kids who are, in this developmental stage right now. Are they different? Absolutely. But no different than we were, really, when you think about it. We were doing a lot of the same things. And it's because that separation was happening where the world was telling us, you're growing up now. So you've got to make choices and decisions for yourself. And you probably were like, I don't even know how to cross the street appropriately. I said to my youngest yesterday, or maybe even this morning, I was like, you need to make a doctor's appointment. And she looked at me like she wanted me to make it. I'm like, Miss Lady, you're a full grown adult. I couldn't do it if I wanted to. I couldn't do it if I wanted to, because we tell kids you're going to be an adult, but we don't always prepare them for the adult decisions and choices that they will be faced to make. And we don't always tell them the truth that here we are at 50 still unsure. We try to make it seem like we've got it all figured out. We don't. We can look at our politicians. For those of you here in America, we can look at our politicians to know that we don't have it all figured out, because if we did, there wouldn't be all of this fighting and arguing and I'm right and you're wrong and all of this. If we truly were standing in our inner guidance of who we are and who we desire to be in this collective consciousness, there wouldn't be all of this fussing and fighting. We would be open to the science. We would be open to the philosophy. We would be open to our intuition, and we would be trusting ourselves and trusting one another. So for those of us who think that the world has to change before we start to feel more like ourselves, you have to change so that the world around you looks the way that you think it's supposed to look. It's a mindset, but it's also a heart set. Your inner guidance has not left you. You just might be disconnected to it. It brought you here and it will take you wherever you need to go. And so you got to talk, feel, and act like you trust yourself. If someone asks you a question and you're like, I don't know, you've already given off the energy that you don't have a clue. You are not sure of who you are. And that's not a criticism or a judgment, because we all experience that, where we're second guessing ourselves in our head, like, I don't know. Like, I thought this was a good idea, but it's not looking the way that I thought. You got to trust. You have to learn how to trust yourself fully and remind yourself that you are a spiritual being experiencing life as a human. Both of those parts deserve to be done fully. You can't be half a human and half a spiritual being. You got to be a full spiritual being and a full human. And trust that those two things come together quite nicely. They do. Or else there would not have been the creation. When we think about nature and some of the things that we see in nature, if you really sit back and think about it, it's like, why is that a thing? You know, when you look at like I was looking at a kangaroo the other day. I'm like, who thought that up? God, what why is a kangaroo looking like a deer, but also looking like the hind legs or something else? Like, it looks like so many different animals. Why is that a thing? Because someone in that some energy in its infinite wisdom said, this is a purpose to this design. In the infinite wisdom of God, there is perfection in our design. We have to trust it. Do you not trust that you were created to do the things that you desire to do? Do you not trust yourself? And if you don't, you got to figure out where that started and where that came from. I guarantee you, it's not what happened to you 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, depending upon how old you are. It's something that started so long ago, like Mother Some said. By the time we're 7 and we start to forget, these things are already happening, where you forget who you are and what your purpose is. And so now you have the divine opportunity to reclaim that. And you start with your inner GPS, that expression, the throat chakra. And I know I'm probably all over the place, but this is important, because what you express becomes a thing. If you say something, even if it's not audible, you've created something. It had to come from somewhere. It came from here, it came from your mindset, and then you stood on it. I am not capable of doing whatever. That's the truth, because you spoke it. Everything you speak becomes a declaration, even the things that you say to yourself. So those negative thoughts that you have about yourself and other people, they become the energy that you create. How are you going to receive particular things with that kind of environment going on in your mindset, going on in your body? Of course, you're confused about your life purpose, because you have not set a fertile place for things to grow. So let us be mindful this entire month. What am I declaring with my thoughts? What am I declaring when I express, when I talk to other people? Hi, my love. Hello, my love. That's my cousin. Hello, my love. When I am talking to other people, do I sound like I know what I'm talking about? Do I have an authority about what it is that I'm saying? Because if I am uncertain, then the words that leave my mouth are uncertain, and they're going to find an uncertain place. They're probably going to connect with somebody who is equally as confused as you are. And now you got two confused, conflicting energies trying to create something. You have to be very clear about who you are and what you are expressing, and recognizing when your responses have come from a place of trauma. There are many of us. Oh, thank you, love. I'm proud of you too. There are many of us who respond from a place of past trauma. Sometimes we are not even consciously aware that we're doing it. It just comes and flies out of our mouths. I Recognize that in myself just yesterday in some of my conversations with people, that by the time it started here and got down to my throat, it was a completely different response. And I know it came from some past stuff where I was unsure and unclear about myself. And so I'm questioning other people. Last year, when we read All About Love, I had no idea that I had no idea of how wrong I was about my definition of love. And I'm thinking I'm unlovable and people just don't love me. And it really was more about my definition of what love means because I wasn't clear. And so when you're not clear about something, you attract that same energy to you. So getting very, very clear that, am I responding from a place of trauma? Am I saying yes when I know I mean no? Am I doing things because I'm afraid that people will leave me or people won't like me? Am I afraid that if I don't do these things that I'm not going to have any money? A lot of our money issues are because of fear and lack. And so our response comes from that place. Somebody asks you to do something, and your first thought is, I don't have the money to do that. Or I'm not going to be able to do that because I don't have the money. Just all fear coming out your mouth, staying in your brain, hiding from, the phone because God forbid it's somebody asking me, do I have money to pay for something? Just living with a pit of fear. What if I lose my job tomorrow? And I'm not saying that these are not real concerns considering the climate that we are living in, but imagine having all of that energy in your body and you making choices from that place. I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. What do you think is going to return to you when everything that comes out of you is fear? And that's your inner guidance. You're being guided by fear. Your choices and decisions are being made because of this impending doom that you think everything is about to fall apart. That's no way to live. That's a way to survive. And we talked about that last week, but that's no way to live. And so, how do we do that? How do we get to that place? By remembering who we are and whose we are. If I am co creating with the Most High, what am I afraid of? Now, there are some real tangible fears in my life. I'm afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of mice. I'm afraid of spiders. And those things have kept me from doing particular things. I have seen a lot of growth in my life because of those things. But what I'm talking about is that deep-seated fear that I'm going to lose something. And I've had great loss in my life. If I lived my life from a place of, I'm going to lose someone else, or I'm going to lose in a way that I lost before, then I'm not really living. But I'm going to be guided from that place, and I'm going to be living a very limited life because of the fear that is guiding me instead of me trusting myself. My beloved is on here, and I remember he asked me, do you trust me? And my response was, I trust God. And what that means is, I trust that whatever experience I am brought to, I can be brought through it. I've already seen it. I do have scientific data. I do have philosophical data, and I do have my intuition. That is where my knowledge and my trust comes from. That's how I trust myself, by trusting God. I can't even humanly comprehend how I have made it through some of the situations and experiences in my life, but I know I did. That's all the evidence that I need. And what does faith tell us? It's evidence of things that you can't even see. So even those things that I don't have scientific knowledge, intellectual knowledge about, I'm still trusting. That's how you align your GPS. You got to talk, feel, and act like you trust yourself and you trust God fully. No buts about it. Period. As the kids say, period. Period. I don't know what other people are doing or saying. Doesn't matter. I'm trusting God. And if I can hold that in my consciousness, there's nothing that I cannot do, and there's nothing that I can be afraid of. I'm not afraid of people leaving or people coming. I'm not afraid of money being lost and money being coming in. I'm not even concerned with it, so much so because I know God wants me to live abundantly. That's how fully I'm trusting myself. And so if I say no, it's a no. If I say yes, it's a yes. I'm not waffling. No one told me how to do that when I was younger. So my choices and decisions looked a lot like I'm going to do whatever everybody else wants me to do. Or I'm going to go to the other extreme and be so damn rebellious that people stop asking me to do things. That's another function of not being connected to your inner guidance, where you just negative about everything. I don't want to do nothing. And underneath all of that is fear. Fear that you're not going to make the right decision anyway. So don't be asking me nothing. When we see angry teenagers and we think that they're angry at the world, that's fear. I have always said that anger is sadness on fire. We've got a lot of sad teenagers who are expressing themselves in angry ways because they're afraid, because there's no guidance. There's no inner guidance. We have just left them with nothing to protect them or make them feel like they're safe. We have not kept the world safe for young people. So of course they're acting out in angry ways. I'd be angry too. If you brought me into a situation and then I'm no longer safe, I'd be pissed too. Now, I may not be doing some of the things that we see young people doing, but I daggone sure would be angry. And I was an angry teenager because how are you telling me to do things and you haven't given me the guidance to do it? You haven't made sure that our household is stable, but you want me to be clear about what I want to do for the rest of my life? Whew, let's meditate. Let's meditate on returning to our inner guidance, which is that trust that I talked about, that knowing who you are. I don't care what anyone says. God already told me I was the most precious creation. So why would I believe anything you're saying that's contrary to that? I already know, and I have full evidence that I have been taken care of every single day of my life, even if it looked different to me. Even if it looked different to me, I have full confidence that I have always been taken care of. And the evidence of that is look at me now. Now that is the greatest compliment that anyone can give me, saying that I sound like my mama. That is the greatest compliment anyone can give. And I don't want to make it seem as though my parents left me out in the wilderness. They didn't. They gave me some great guidance. But there was always things left out. Because at this age, between 12 and 20, we are so far out of our parents' grasp. They don't know what we're doing all the time. And they're trusting us to make sound decisions. And we may not always have what we need to make those decisions, but we do now. And so there may have been things, and I don't want us to go through this without acknowledging that there were things when you were younger, 12, 13, all up into the age of 20 and beyond, that were not fair to you, where you really didn't have a choice. People made decisions for you. People impacted you greatly. People did things, said things, left out things, didn't show up when they were supposed to show up, or showed up when they shouldn't have showed up. All of those things happened to you when you were young. But it's our responsibility as adults to heal that. And one of the ways that you start to heal that is returning to trusting yourself fully, which is trusting the Most High. If you've made it this far, if you've made it this far, you might as well go all the way. You are absolutely right. We are brother and sister. I'm the older sister. He is my bigger little cousin. But we are and always have been. And we have gotten into some situations when we were younger, just out there doing whatever, driving cars and we didn't have no license at 12 and 13, doing whatever, Thank God that we didn't get hurt or harmed in a lot of the situations and things that we did when we were younger. And we all have that testimony. Whew, thank God. Thank God. But as we who consider ourselves to be daughters and sons of the Most High, whatever your word, language, title for God is, if you believe that there is an energy that is supporting you, loving you, guiding you, why would you not trust it? Why would you not trust yourself with it if it's in you? So if God has already said, I trust you and I'm going to give you free will and I'm going to allow you to make choices and decisions, I'm not going to fumble the ball. I may not always be right, but I know I ain't always wrong. But I am always willing to see and learn from everything. Everything. Yeah, we got to take some of that stuff to the grave. Absolutely. That will not be in the book. Some of those things. However, it still is the truth. And it's quite the testimony to be able to say that I did some things in my life and I'm still here to talk about it. I haven't been condemned. I haven't been thrown into a lake of fire. I still love myself. I still love other people. When we think about some of the things and experiences that happened to us when we were younger, if you still want to be involved in human interactions, I say gold star for you, because some of the things that we do to one another is enough to make you not want to be bothered with human beings altogether. But if you still want to love and you still want to fellowship and create joy with other beings, then get about the business of doing it, but do it from a place of trust so that there's not this barrier in between you and the full realization of what it is that you desire. So let's meditate. Let's talk about and think about, and maybe you in your quiet moments, write down those things that happened to you. As I said in the beginning, this month, because of this age range, we may have to come up with and talk about some very adult themes that might bring up some trauma for you. If it's too much, then don't do it. Don't do it right now. Let me say that. Don't do it right now. Make sure that you have a support system. Make sure that you have safe spaces as you write for yourself to tell yourself the truth of things that occurred, and not about from a position of I was a victim, they were a villain, from a position of tell the truth. If something happened to you that impacted you negatively to where you are still carrying it as an adult, you have to tell the truth about it. You have to face it and then talk and feel and act. Your conversation, your choices all need to line up with who you know yourself to be fully, not the measure of the things that happen to you, not the conversation that says, oh, I didn't go to college, so that's why this is happening. Oh, I'm not as good as so and so because such and such is doing it. None of that. We don't have time for it. Each of us individually is as great as we desire to be based upon the way we think and feel about ourselves and the way that we act and what we allow in our consciousness. So let's take some deep breaths. Come into this right now moment where I already know you have survived the worst circumstances of your life. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but you're here in this right now moment, which means you made it through. And because of that, we have to acknowledge the energy that pulled you through those experiences is still with you now. And we are so grateful. I am so grateful that I have never been left out in the wilderness all by myself. Even in those moments when it feels as though I was, when there was no one to hold my hand, wipe my tears, or hug me in the way that I needed. Whether I was a young teenager, a young adult, or even yesterday, I acknowledge that there were times when I may have felt like I was all alone. And I want to acknowledge to the energies of the universe the divine energies of the universe that have never left me. I acknowledge your presence now when I did not and was not able to acknowledge it then. I know you were with me because me being here is evidence of that fact. And while I may still be carrying some of the heavy energy and trauma from those experiences, I am looking towards you to support me in seeing them differently. And so I envision that my inner GPS, my inner guidance, is being reconnected as I speak. I recognize who I am and how great this creation is as it is. Not when I lose some weight, not when I cut my hair, not when I grow some hair, not when I buy some hair, not when I put on the makeup and all of those other things that we do to make ourselves feel good. I have to stand in the knowledge that I am good. I am good as I am in this moment, and I'm going to trust myself in every circumstance in my life. The choices that I'm making, I'm going to stand on them firmly. And even if I need to take some time, take a pause, take a breath before I make a choice in a decision, I recognize my power to do so and the power I have to change my mind if I decide to do so. I am breathing in all of the energies of all of the ascended masters and ancestors who have walked this earth and who may have meditated on this very thing, also feeling lost, also feeling stuck, also feeling confused, also surrounded by negativity and hurt. And I reclaim their position as my position now of healing. Maybe I am doing what my mother was unable to do. Maybe I am doing the work that my father was unable to do. Or maybe I am continuing the work that my ancestors already started. And now it's my turn to take all of my knowledge, right? The scientific, the intellectual, the philosophical, the intuition, the knowing. I'm going to take all of that wisdom and knowledge and I'm going to trust it so that it propels me further than any one of us or all of us ever thought it could. Because in my humanness, I can see a little bit, but my spiritualness says, ooh, I see a lot. I'm trusting myself in ways that I may not have trusted myself before. From this point forward, my no's are going to be solid. My yeses are going to be solid. I'm no longer coming from a place of lack and uncertainty. And if that means I have to do things over and over and over consistently, then so be it. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to learn and learn and learn and learn at my process and in my pace and with the process that makes sense to me, and no one else has to understand it. And I don't need an influencer to tell me who to be because I already know. I don't need someone who has never walked in my shoes to tell me where to go because I'm trusting myself. And I can listen to other perspectives and recognize when it resonates with me and connects with my inner GPS. So I'm not being led by other folks who don't know where the heck they're going either. I remember last week we talked about connection versus attachment. Connection says, I know how great I am and I see your greatness too. Let's connect. Attachment says, I don't know who I am. I don't know nothing about greatness, but it looks like you got some. So let me attach to you. We are connecting. We are not attaching because we are sure of who we are. We are trusting ourselves fully. Even in those moments when I've made a misguided attempt at doing something, I still learn something. So there is no failure within me. My inner GPS does not fail me ever. It shows me what I need to see when I need to see it. And if I align my mind my body and my spirit with that perspective, then brand new worlds open up to me. I get to discover instead of being stuck. I will never say I am stuck again. I will say I am growing into something unfamiliar. Do y'all like that? I like that. I am growing into something unfamiliar. And I'm going to trust that I'm going to get whatever I need to get to bring me through it because it's happened time and time and time again. So let's change our vocabulary. No more saying I'm stuck. No more saying I don't trust myself. I don't know what to do. Please don't tell yourself you don't know what to do. When people tell me that, I automatically respond, you do know. You may have forgotten, but you know it's in there and you just need to reconnect to it. And I don't mean to make it sound so simple. Just reconnect to it. Do the work of reconnecting by trusting yourself more. Not testing yourself, trusting yourself. Because a test will make it seem as though you could pass or fail. There's no failure. Take failure out of the equation. I'm going to learn something or I'm going to win. Those are the only two options. And I'm winning at all times. Even when it looks like I may have tripped, I'm still winning. What did Giovanni say? Even my errors are correct. That's the mindset that we have to get to trust ourselves fully. And come on, you're co-creating with the universe. Come on. Thank you, cousin, brother, cousin. We have an amazing gift. We have been given an amazing gift, a wonderful gift, an energetic gift. I love it. I may not always walk in it 24 hours a day, but my return to who I am, it comes a lot quicker than it used to because of things like this, these kind of conversations. Y'all will send me emails and comments, and I'm telling you, it comes at the right time. I might be at the tip of going down a spiral of feeling bad about myself. I don't know what I'm doing. And before I can even get halfway around the circle, there's a comment, there's an email, because that's the energy that I am attracting, because that's the energy that I'm giving out. I want us all to win. And we do that together. And so this is my website. If you still want to connect with me outside of our Sunday meetings, then that's a good way to do it. Thank you to those of you who showed up on Wednesday. Did Simone not drop some wisdom on us? I got to find that clip where she talked about when she made the choice to be well, she didn't have any other option. I'm going to be well, and everything else has to line up with it. And if it doesn't look like wellness to me, it's got to go. We think it's the other way around, that the wellness happens first and then all things will line up. No, you got to talk it, feel it, act it now. And then everything that you do after that determination, it needs to line up with it. It's not the doing. It's not the things that you are doing and then you're looking to say, okay, I did it for 30 days. Where's my gift? Mm-mm. It's every day, all day. It's who you are. It's integrated in your life. You just don't allow anything to penetrate what you have built up. So if you've built up this energy of trust for yourself, why are you going to connect with somebody who's questioning you? And there's a difference between the people who are invested in your growth, or cathexis. We learned that from All About Love. There is a difference between people who are invested in your growth, giving you constructive criticism that makes you think philosophically, right? Than some joker who doesn't know you trying to tell you you're doing that wrong, or I don't like that. I'm amazed by the number of people who feel like it's their personal business to come on the internet every single day to talk about what they don't like and how that's not going to work. Just please heal yourselves. Please. Oh my God. She is a dynamo. And did you not hear how she said when she made that choice, everything else lined up? Even telling her story has now propelled her to do it in a bigger platform, which put her in. Y'all saw the video. If you didn't, it's on my YouTube channel. I got an email today. I can't wait to tell y'all about it. When you make the choice from a place of abundance, where you are trusting yourself and you talking like you know who God created you to be, I'm telling you, that's what you will attract. But you have to believe it fully. You can't just be saying stuff and then secretly in your chest, you're like, I don't believe none of that. I'm a fraud. And one of these days, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome and all of those things because I know that is a topic that we all are challenged with. But you got to believe it. Or as they've been saying as of late, you got to be delusional enough to believe everything that you desire is possible. That is what I want us all to start walking in. I can do anything, absolutely anything. Who's going to stop me? And who's going to tell me that I'm not? Now, if big little cousin says, yo, yo, you might want to take a second look at that. I might take that, I'm going to be open because I know he loves me. If my beloved says, baby, that may not be what you need to do right now. I'm going to listen because I trust. These are people that I know love me and are invested in my growth. But if they come to me and say, you can't do that because you ain't smart enough, you ain't pretty enough, you ain't got, then I'm going to have to question, do you really see me? Or are you seeing me through your own limited perception? That's a discussion for another day. Today, we are talking about how our inner guidance may have been disrupted when we were younger. I believe that we had it, but once your peer group and cultural influences take grasp upon you, you start to forget. But it's still within you. It's still within you. So eliminate the distractions, eliminate or be aware of when you are responding from a trauma space instead of a powerful space. And trust yourself and trust that you can always change your mind if you want to. Because you know who you are, who you are becoming, and you love all of it. Your human self, your spiritual self, you just love it. And so I'm grateful for the time that we have together. I have things to do today, and I hope that the things that you have to do today for yourself in this entire week are centered on the principle of your inner guidance, where you're taking different things into your decision making process, not just one. Like the graphic said, you got all of these things to support you: science, philosophy, and you got all of these things to help guide you. Why would you leave any of that out? Why would you leave any of that wisdom out? Don't leave it out. Trust it. Trust it fully by trusting yourself. As always, if there is anything else that I can do for anyone, schedule some office hours with me. My website is where you do that. I have so many changes that are coming down the pike. This is probably going to be the best place to know what I'm doing and where I'm doing it. I can't always get on social media because I'm out here formulating a whole romantic relationship, y'all. And it's important to me. So I can't be everywhere all at once. I am in the places and spaces that I am contracted to be. And then my heart leads me in other places. So please, 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 however you decide to get in contact with me, I appreciate it. I love y'all. I love this community that we have created. I see the comments throughout the week and I respond to them as quickly as possible, but let me know how it just automatically makes my heart soar when I see the responses. And if there's anything else that I can do for anyone, please let me know. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Make this full moon energy that is still present, make it do something. Make it do what it do. The universe wants to love you and support you and has always been doing so. You have to trust and believe that and act like it. So until next Sunday. Hey, Erica. So here's the thing, I don't always know who's on until y'all comment. So if I don't say hi to you specifically, it's only because I can't see who is where. It just gives me numbers. It never gives me names until you guys comment. I don't know if you're watching live or not. So thank you so much for commenting. Even if it's just to send a heart or something like that, I appreciate it. Um, I'm just so incredibly excited about the things that are happening in my life and in life in general. And I want to share that as much as possible. So let's continue to meet here Sundays at 1. We will have another Work It Wellness Wednesday very, very soon. It may be someone from this space if they agree to do so. And thank y'all for watching. I love you. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Mm.